What's up? This is Mike Portnoy here with the Winery Dogs, hanging with my man Steve-O on the live addiction at thebuzz.com. Boyakashin.
Perfect.
For real.
What's up? It's Steve-O here, and I'm sitting down with Mike Portnoy from the supergroup, the Winery Dogs.
I've been like on this Ali G kick again.
Yeah?
I used to love Ali G 10 years ago, and now he's back on FX. So instead of being like, yo, what's up? I gotta do my Ali G like, Boyakashin.
Booyakasha.
You gotta do that. Like,
He's the Borat dude, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're at Scout Bar here in Houston. They're currently on tour in support of their self-titled album. I know you're a busy guy. The first Winery Dogs album seemed to have an overwhelmingly positive response. When can we expect something new from you guys?
Next year. I mean, we're still hard at work on the tour cycle for this album.
It doesn't seem to stop. I was looking at y'all's tour dates.
We're almost a year into the tour cycle. We started last summer and been through the States, did South America, did Europe, did Japan, and now here we are going through the States again, all spring and all summer. We're ending in August. So that's the focus right now, is just playing as much as we can off this first album. We'll wrap it up in August, unless something else comes along. You never know, but the plan right now is to wrap it in August and then start work on the new album a few months after that and get it back out early next year so we could start the whole cycle over again.
Cool. Well, it's badass, man. I mean, it's just, no frills, rock and roll. I really liked it.
Thank you.
What's it like playing a more classic rock style of music for you, coming from your metal and progressive background?
It's definitely a change of pace. People that know my history expect, the 100-piece drum kit and, a million time signatures, a more metal approach.
Is it hard for you to tone it back for this style of music?
No, my musical taste is so broad. I love everything. I mean, I still love prog. I still love metal. I'm a thrash guy at heart, but I also have a real appreciation for the classic shit. I mean, that's what I grew up with. My leg is tattooed with The Who and Zeppelin and Beatles, and so that's where I started.
Awesome.
And it's not that much of a departure. And playing with Billy and Richie, I mean, both of those guys are just so good at what they do. For me, that's what this band is about. Forget about the style. The style is just secondary. To me, the whole thing about this band is the three of us coming together, regardless of what style it is. Just to play with Billy and Richie, is so magical. It's just such an amazing chemistry that even if we were doing polka tunes or bluegrass music, it would still be badass because the chemistry is so good.
Yeah, I mean, from all the interviews I've seen and everything, it seems like you're really passionate. This is where your focus is right now. That's awesome.
It is. I mean, I still have a million different projects and side projects and things going on, and I still have things in the prog world, and I still have things in the metal world. But the Winery Dogs, it really feels like it's my new home. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
All three of us are really enjoying this band, and the reception to it has been so awesome, and it just really feels like this is the next chapter for all three of our careers.
Well, you said it yourself, you got a lot of other side projects going on as well. Where do you find time to fit in the family life?
That's a good question, man. Luckily, my wife and kids are unbelievably supportive to, not only his lifestyle, but to my lifestyle, which is, times 10 what most people are,
right.
that tour, there's a million touring musicians out there that go on the road and come home, but not many of them are in like 5 or 6 different bands and jump from band to band to band to tour to tour to tour. And my wife and kids are just so supportive.
So they get to come out and meet you sometimes on the road?
Less, as I was just talking about this at dinner with Richie and a couple of crew guys. We just were at dinner, and I was saying how when my kids were really young, they used to come on tour with me all the time, but now that they're teenagers, like, they don't come out with me that much. They'd rather be home with their friends and things like that. So they're just used to this. Literally since my kids have been alive, they've grown up with me being on tour, and they're not like these resentful kids that are going to end up in therapy when they're 30 years old over it. They love this lifestyle, and they're very used to it. And my wife is, we've been together 25 years now, so She's used to it. She's supportive of it. I wrote "You Saved Me" on the Winery Dogs album for her, for being so supportive and such a great support system for me. So I'm very, very fortunate that I've got such a understanding and supportive family. Not everybody does. I mean, a lot of families and marriages don't work in this business, but thankfully mine has.
That's awesome. Do the kids play anything?
Yeah, my son, actually this is his band. I happen to be wearing his band shirt.
That's awesome.
My son's in a band called Next to None, and they've opened for the Winery Dogs, and they've opened for Adrenaline Mob. They played on my Progressive Nation cruise, so you know, he's a drummer. He's 15 years old, and his band is badass. I mean, they started a couple of years ago. They put out a video called Fortune Cookie, which is on the internet, and it's got cameos by like Anthrax and That Metal Show guys who do a cameo in it, and Chris Jericho and Dee Snider.
That's awesome.
That was early in their career. That was one of their early songs, but now they're writing like really more technical, progressive stuff. So yeah, I mean, they're really growing really, really quickly.
That's really cool. You guys get to share that. As you mentioned, I do have a death bat on my leg. Avenged Sevenfold is one of my favorite bands.
And I got one on my arm. Me and Zachy got matching ones.
That's awesome.
When we did the album.
They're one of my favorite bands. They're one of the bands that got me into heavier music. You played drums on their album Nightmare after their drummer Jimmy the Rev Sullivan passed away. What was that whole experience like for you? I know normally you do these startup projects, like the Winery Dogs was from the ground up, and you're going into this well-oiled machine, you know, that's already up and running. What was that like?
It was a really cool experience. There were basically two experiences. There was the album and the tour. The album was a really heavy emotional experience because we started the album, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks after the Rev was buried. So it was still really fresh for those guys, and you know, everybody was really very emotional. So making the album was a really emotional experience, and I felt really honored to have been part of that experience with them, and that's why me and Zachy got these matching tattoos. You know, to me it was a real amazing experience to bond with them during that period. And then after that experience, you know, I wanted to be there to help them, and that's how my services got you know, called upon for the first half of the tour. I guess the first 5 or 6 months of the Nightmare tour, basically to the end of 2010. And you know, at that point, it was just them getting back on their feet and helping them out. I don't think I was ever going to be there for long. It was, you know, I was still in Dream Theater at that point, and even once I left Dream Theater, you know, it was pretty established that it was just a helping them out phase, and it was a great tour, man. I had fun with those guys. They're nice guys, and I'm so happy to see that they've, you know, gotten back on their feet and have blossomed to a whole new level, and you know, and continue to do what they're doing. So it was an experience that I look back upon with a lot of great memories.
Awesome. Well, can you share one of your fondest memories out on the road with those dudes? If you had to narrow, what comes to mind, you know?
I mean, I could think of a million. The very, very first show in Montreal, I mean, that was heavy because that was their very first time on stage without the Rev. For me personally, I mean, I have to thank their fans for being so open and welcoming to me, because like you said, you know, it was, for me, I was walking into something that was already well established and already had a very strong fan base, and to step into that situation for me could have been very uncomfortable, but their fans, who were still heavily mourning Jimmy's death, were so welcoming to me, and I felt it right immediately from that very first show in Montreal, and I think that also helped the other guys like move on and move forward. But
yeah,
the fans were always great to me, and always like thanked me for helping the boys out, and so that first show comes to mind. Also, one of the last shows I played with them, we did a USO tour in Iraq. That's one of the highlights also of my time with them, was going to Iraq with them and having that experience, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, now I wanted to ask you some random kind of rapid fire questions. Who are the bands or musicians that you heard growing up that made you say, man, I really want to be a drummer?
For me, Keith Moon was the guy.
Yeah.
That, well, there was two guys. It was Keith Moon and Neil Peart, and they kind of came in phases. When I was younger, I was listening to classic rock stuff like The Who and the Zeppelin and the Beatles and things like that. But I hadn't really seen them. You know, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have videos. Like,
Right.
You'd have to either see them on TV or see like a movie. And
Did you watch Tommy?
Well, Tommy the movie. Keith Moon wasn't really in.
Yeah.
He was in a couple of scenes. And I remember when I saw Tommy, and Tommy the album was one of my biggest influences of all time. One of my favorite albums of all time, still is. But the movie came out, and I remember being really scared by seeing the Acid Queen.
Tina Turner?
Yeah, and I freaked out, and I left the theater. I was like freaked out. But a few years later, the movie The Kids Are All Right came out, and I was around 11 years old. It came out in '79, and that was the first time I saw Keith play. I've been listening to Keith for all those years, but never saw him. And when I saw the way he played drums, the way he was just so charismatic and animated and throwing sticks and commanding the stage, and just like you couldn't take your eyes off him, that was my moment where I was like, that's what I want to do.
That's me.
I not only want to be a drummer, but I want to be a drummer like him. I want to fucking hog the spotlight and be the sort of drummer that just makes you want to play drums. You know, he wasn't technically that great. There's a lot of other drummers that I discovered later on that were way better drummers than him, but he made you smile.
Yeah,
he
was a madman.
He made you smile, and to me, sometimes that's way more important than being a good technical drummer. And then my next drum hero was Neil Peart, which was years later when I was in my late teens and started wanting to hear more progressive music.
Yeah.
And then I started, getting really into becoming a better drummer. That's when I discovered Neil, and then that just changed my world from a technical point of view.
Cool. Coolest concert you've been to, or the coolest concert you've been a part of?
Been to two immediately come to mind. One was one of my first experiences was seeing Kiss in '77, Madison Square Garden. That was just life altering. It was on the Alive 2 had just come out, so it was kind of the tail of the Love Gun tour, or right after Alive 2. That just changed my life. I was 10 years old, and I was a Kiss fanatic at the time, and just being there in the audience and smelling the pot smoke and seeing the big Kiss sign not lit up like before the show started, just seeing the big metal KISS not lit up, and it was just so electric. That was amazing. That one immediately comes to mind. And also, I guess I'd have to say one of the best concerts I've ever seen was Roger Waters doing The Wall a couple of years ago.
I saw that too in Houston. It was amazing.
Unbelievable. Like the best production I've ever seen.
It's like a spiritual experience for me.
Totally.
Besides cell phone and basic toiletries, what is a must-have when you're on the road? Anything random? One guy I talked to, he had a new pair of socks for every day.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that actually just put socks on their rider and then throw out their socks from day to day. Now, I mean, to me, it's a cell phone. I don't know how I ever lived without my cell phone, because now everything's in there. You know, my music and my contacts and my social media and mail. I used to carry around a thing called like an Archos player, which was like 100 gigs, and I would put all my TV shows in there and all my movies in there. But even that has been replaced by, now my laptop is, I carry my laptop and a couple of hard drives, like 2 terabytes worth of movies and TVs, and basically that's what I live off of. Every time I go into a hotel room, I have a little media player that I could plug into the TV. I just watch all my movies and my TV shows. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do when I'm on tour. When I'm not on stage, is watching TV shows and movies.
Okay, cool. Top 3 favorite movies of all time.
I have a list. If you go to MikePortnoy.com, there's a section with my 100 favorite movies, my 100 favorite albums, my 100 favored directors.
MikePortnoy.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a list maker, and I'm a film fanatic, so it's hard to break it down. But you could literally find my top 100 list there. But
well, you got Clockwork Orange right there.
Yeah. I mean, Stanley Kubrick's my all-time hero.
Okay.
Stanley Kubrick, David Lynch, P.T. Anderson, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese. I like a lot of
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah, P.T.'s like one of my modern day heroes. He's my modern Kubrick. I just saw. Did you see Under the Skin?
I haven't seen it yet.
Jonathan Glazer. He's this generation's Kubrick. He's only made 3 films. He did Sexy Beast, Birth, and Under the Skin.
I haven't seen any of them.
Very, very much like Kubrick meets Lynch. But in answer to your question, if I had to pick a top 3, it would be Boogie Nights, The Clockwork Orange, and Goodfellas.
Sweet, little Dirk Diggler in there.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I like to end every interview with a tattoo question. Tell me a story about one of your tattoos, a funny, favorite, latest tattoo, something not a lot of people know maybe.
Oh man.
Any like bro tats that you and some of the guys got?
Well, bro tats, I have I think a few that, like I said before, me and Zachy got those together.
Right.
Oh, me and Charlie Benante got this together. We were it was at the Big 4 show in California, and me and Charlie got this Forever Metal tattoo together.
So it's like Starbucks.
Yeah, it was in the Anthrax dressing room while Slayer was playing.
That is awesome.
So me and Charlie got those. I got my dogs here. Kat Von D did these.
Oh, that's cool.
Portraits of my dogs. And this leg is, like I was saying before, my musical heroes. I got Tommy, and I got John Bonham and Keith Moon. And on this side, I got Sgt. Pepper and Yellow Submarine. And
you got Yellow Submarine shoes on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like you, I'm just a fan, and I love wearing my influences on my sleeve. No pun intended.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, King Crimson. You know. A little bit of everything on here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Mike. If you haven't picked up the Winery Dogs self-titled album, go pick it up today. It's balls to the walls, badass rock and roll.
Thank you, man.
Thanks again, man.
Can you get me back on my feet?